action by citizens, big businesses, corporate institutions, as well as the civil society, thereby making government more transparent, more accountable to its people, our viewers. Now, first on President Tinubu's administration's calendar. Today is 31st of October, Tuesday, 2023, and it marks exactly 156 days of President Bola Tinubu in office as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This is now exactly 5 months and 6 days as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Now, a lot is going to be unveiled today. A lot of the developments you already are feeling the pulse. But let us quickly begin with Atiku breaking his silence, granting a world press conference to show his reaction over the Supreme Court appeal judgment, the final one that we had just a few days ago. Now, he addressed a press conference in Abuja on Monday over the Supreme Court's verdict to dismiss his appeal for lacking in merit and affirm the victory of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He made some statements at the conference where he derided the verdict of the Supreme Court, describing it as an endorsement of illegality. He expressed his disappointment in the turn of events, declaring that Nigeria was the biggest loser. Now let me quote some of the things he said. Someone asked me what I would do if I lost my election petition appeal at the Supreme Court. In response, I said that as long as Nigeria wins, the struggle would have been worth the while. By that, I meant that the bigger loss would not be mine, but Nigeria's, if the Supreme Court legitimizes illegality, including forgery, identity theft, and perjury. I'm quoting Atiku. He continues, if the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, implies by its judgment that crime is good and should be rewarded, then Nigeria has lost and the country is doomed irrespective of who occupies the presidential seat. If the Supreme Court decides that the electoral umpire INEC can tell the public one thing and then do something else in order to reach a corruptly predetermined outcome, then there is really no hope for the country, or rather no hope for the country's democracy and electoral politics. Now, obviously, the consequences of those decisions for the country will not end at the expiration of the current government. They will last for decades. I am absolutely sure that history will vindicate me. We now know what the Supreme Court has decided. I always choose from freedom over servitude, whatever the personal discomforts my choices entail. When I joined politics, the critical challenge was easing the military out of power so that the civilian democratic governance could be restored in Nigeria. All right, at that point, let's quickly take a listen to some of his very clear and unambiguous statements.
Someone asked me, what would I do if I lost my election petition appeal at the Supreme Court? In response, I said that as long as Nigeria wins, the struggle would have been worth the while. By that, I meant that the bigger loss would not be mine, but Nigeria's, if the Supreme Court legitimizes illegality, including forgery and perjury, as it has done. If the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, implies by its judgment that crime is good and should be rewarded, then Nigeria has lost. And the country is doomed irrespective of who occupies the presidential seat. If the Supreme Court decides that the electoral umpire, INEC, can tell the public one thing and then twist democracy and electoral process, obviously, the consequences of the country will not end at the expiration of the current government. They will last for decades.
About the issues, the imbroglio, the impasse between the current executive governor of Rivers State and his predecessor, the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike. Obviously, well, what we still have are still some level of speculations, but there were some interviews on Wike today who made certain statements that boils as Wike controlled, as crisis has been boiling in Rivers State, as the House of Assembly commenced impeachment proceedings against Governor Siminalayi Fubara, also known as Governor Sim Fubara of Rivers State. There was an emergency sitting by fractions of the members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. That's how it started. And there were 3 items in their agenda, which were to remove 1, the majority leader, and 3 others, then proceed to impeach the governor. Now, this move was made on Monday. Now, 24 out of 32 assembly members at the plenary signed the impeachment notice and ordered its clerk to serve it to the governor. Now, the assembly members led by Speaker Martin Amewule, who are said to be allies of the immediate past governor and now minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, had earlier suspended the majority leader, Ehe Edison, who reportedly blocked the impeachment moves initially. Now, the actions unfolded during an unplanned session convened by the lawmakers on Monday morning between 7 and 9 a.m. The plenary proceedings were unusually conducted in secrecy, or at least so the media reported, with reporters prevented from attending that plenary. Now, the police in Rivers State had not addressed the issue of the attack on Governor Siminalayi, because we also understand that there were shootings of tear gases and some gas canisters at the governor. Now, the police is yet to make confirmed statements on that matter. Now, several hours after the incident, some police operatives on Monday fired tear gas and water cannons at Mr. Fubara while he was walking along the road in Port Harcourt with some security aides and political supporters shortly after the State Assembly was engulfed in crisis following an impeachment attempt against the governor. Now, Mr. Fubara said security in Rivers State had been compromised. I'll quote him: "They were shooting at me directly, but it doesn't matter. Somebody will die one day," he said. Wike was behind the impeachment attempt. Media reports that there is a rumor of a rift between the two leaders. Mr. Wike helped install Mr. Fubara as governor, but both men appear to have gone their separate ways. The former governor has
that offense that I've committed. What have you done? That is what I want. Come out and tell the people of Rivers State that offense that Fubara committed. Woman is an island, though. Warranty every one of you here is with us. Yes. Rivers youths are with you.
So much was said by Mr. Fubara there. Mr. Fubara, in an address to his supporters at the Assembly complex, challenged the lawmakers to, quote, "come out and tell Rivers people what I have committed to warrant any impeachment." Now, he added,
"I want to thank my colleague. Anytime I'm called to service, I'm here to serve."
All right, so much going on at the Rivers House of Assembly. The House of Assembly has been physically burnt. The executive governor has said that he will speak at the right time.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people. But there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. Frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
All right, many thanks for staying tuned. If you're just tuned in, it's Political Spectrum coming to you live daily from Uyo, the state's capital. And we will be speaking to Mr. Jide Ojo, who has connected with us to us live from Abuja. Mr. Jide Ojo is a development consultant and a public affairs analyst. He's also a columnist and an author. Mr. Jide, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Shagun. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Uyo, there's been a lot of rain in Uyo, a lot of rain, but we're keeping things together. You know, we'll have to do what we have to do. Nice to see you. Before we delve into the major...
The ugly sides. Even among we media practitioners, are you saying we are all saints? I wrote an article, and of you people who are corrupt. And I say, yes, I know. But the true rule in determining to embrace or reject a thing is not whether it has or whether it has more evil than good.
True.
I'm still of the opinion that majority of our law enforcement agents are good. Peradventure, the bad eggs among them may not be up to 10%. Those 10% to rubbish the good work of majority of the law enforcement agents. The same thing with the Nigerian judiciary. The fact that some members of the bench have compromised, you now use it as a basis to condemn the entire institution. Yet I want to tell you, Shegun, for a judge, every judgment he or she gives, it makes a friend, it makes an enemy. That is why judges get police protection. Because when you give a judgment, someone will be dissatisfied, other person will be very satisfied.
So true.
So that is why you saw at some point in our history, not too long ago, judges were being picked up like snails. Judges were being kidnapped. And why would that happen? Because they felt, whoever felt bad that maybe that judge has given judgment that is not in his favor or her favor. So I want us to moderate our expectation. This institution called democracy, this institution called judiciary is populated by people who lives in the same society as you and I do.
That's correct.
And every human society is made up of the good, the bad, and the ugly. There is no profession that is immune. There is no profession that is immune from bad practices. And when law in particular is like something that is esoteric to the uninitiated, to non-lawyers, there are that presumption that when you expect a particular judgment and that judgment did not come in the way you envisage, you lampoon the judiciary, you make false allegations that those judges have been induced and compromised without any shred of evidence. And we need to be very careful, because when you make this sweeping statement, you are dampening the morale of the good ones in that institutions. Those who work tirelessly and assiduously to uphold the tenet of their profession. Like the Chief Justice of Nigeria said when he was swearing on judges of Federal High Court recently, he said, judiciary is not where you go if you want to be a billionaire. And I hope you have read there were say, oh, it's in.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. For as long as I breathe, I will continue to struggle with other Nigerians. It must mean something. It must be substantive. Above all, it must be expressed through free, fair, and transparent elections that respect the will of the people. Firstly, we must make electoral members of our National Assembly here present. We must make electronic voting and collation of results mandatory. We don't want to see any human being handling our results, whether at the polling units, at the ward, at the local government, or at this is the 21st century, and countries less advanced than Nigeria are doing so already. It is only bold initiatives that transform societies. Secondly, our members of the National Assembly, we must provide that all litigation arising from a disputed elections must be concluded before inauguration of a winner. This was the case in 1979. I don't know how we of the valid vote cards, failing which a runoff between the top two candidates will be held. Most countries that elect their presidents use this two-round tier system with slight variations rather than our current fast-past-the-post system. Examples include France, Finland, Australia, Bulgaria, Portugal, Poland, Turkey, and Brazil, Argentina, to hold in the coming days. Incumbents and distractions from governing, and also to promote equity and national unity. We need to move to a single 6-year term.
Other entities that is permitted.
Okay.
So my own take is that the effort of Atiku Abubakar is not in vain.
It's not in futility.
He has succeeded in poisoning the minds of average Nigerians about the integrity and credibility of the personality.
Mr. Jide, I like your choice. Mr. Jide, I like your choice of words.
The public opinion.
Mr. Jide, I like your choice of words. He has succeeded in poisoning the mind of Nigerians. Some other people would have put it this way. Some other people would have put it this way. He has succeeded in unveiling a lot about the personality of the president. Whichever way you look at it, one carries a positive effect while the other carries a negative effect. But I don't want us to continue to dwell because we have just very few minutes to the end of the show, and we must talk about the developments in Rivers State. Now, the Rivers State power tussle, all fingers point to Wike at the moment, although nobody has been able to substantiate or confirm anything. He is the FCT minister as we speak. Now, another very good example of some of the godfather wanting to be in control of their states even after 8 years of being governor. I want you to quickly speak to this so that we can take one more question before we go. Yes, Mr. Jide, if you can hear me, go on. Okay, we may be having some hitches there. We have moved into developments in Rivers State like we brought to you before. It first started by the burning down of the State House of Assembly complex. And thereafter, we witnessed some information being passed to the governor, and the governor moving within the State House there, moving to go and check the situation of things, only to find out that there was an attempt to impeach him, and then questions now began to arise. Before then, we've had a fractionalization of the Rivers State House of Assembly whereas you now have some fraction being loyal to some Wike, while some other faction are being loyal to the current governor. And a lot of people will ask the very simple question: so far, so good. Similarly, Fubara's reaction so far, has it been? Another issue will be real. He has been minister twice. He is still a current minister enjoying under the current administration. Howbeit, he is still to be in subservience under Wike's instructions and orders. Mr. Jide Ojo, if you can hear me now, I want you to speak to the whole developments in Rivers State.
The development in Rivers State is very tragic. And I am disturbed